Like, we made a list of all the things that they've learned so far on the board, and I also showed them a slideshow of themselves working. Like, I showed them a slideshow of all the projects they've done and asked them what they learned doing each one. And, it was very, like, vocabulary based, like, oh, we learned about composition and how to add value and how to do these things, different things. And then studio thinking was included in that, though, which was kind of interesting. Like, we talked about, like, they said, well, we learned about studio thinking. I was like, oh, well, what is it that you learned about that? Oh, there's these different things that artists do. And, they kind of, like, explained it. So we wrote it on the board as something that they could use and talk about. So some of the kids, which I thought was cool, chose that they had to pick 4 things to focus on. And they had to use 4 things that they've already learned, creating a new art piece. There was no direction beyond that as far as subject matter, so they could do, as long as they could show the things, they could do whatever they wanted, which is like a big leap for freshmen. And some people were like, that's kind of crazy. Like, are you sure that 9th graders aren't going to freak out? It's like, well, I'll help them if they freak out. I want to see what they do. But they all are, the Art 1 kids especially, like, they have ideas and they have things they like to make. And, so like, I just love how different they turned out, And so, this is one kid's, this is another kid's, and they could use any of the materials we've used so far except for clay. This is another kid, and then this is another one. So, like, the things they showed are different. Like, this girl got a good grade. She's showing gesture drawing, which she understands gesture drawing to be, proportions of the human face, value, right, what value is, and the elements and principles, I believe. And they wrote a statement to go along with it that justifies how they used it and what it is. So, Monica used value in a totally different way. Like, she did, like, found lights and darks within each color and, like, totally expressed it that way, which I thought was really neat. And, like, contour line drawing of the cows and, like, value in this little weird thing up here. And some of them, and this is, just really cool the way he decided to put that person on there, right, and did contour line drawing of that. Oh, stretch and explore. So, some of them, what I wanted to show you is in their statements, they wrote about how they use the habit. So, the third element of art that I use is stretch and explore. I use this by making my plain idea and making something even more interesting in my art. The definition of stretch and explore would be learning to reach beyond one's capacity, so that you can tell they wrote this down. To explore playfully without a preconceived plan, blah, blah, blah. In my drawing, I wanted to make the focal point pop out, and I feel like I used stretch and explore to learn from this and make the background flow. So he feels like he used that in some way. Other ones were a little bit more, like, clear about what they were trying to say, but, like, how they used it. This is cool. This girl using, like, her understanding of emphasis is pretty right on, putting something dead in the center and making it color versus black and white. So the elements of principles of art, value in the people, developing craft. So I don't know. Studio thinking using developing craft, learning how to use and care for tools. I learned even this because I learned how to properly use Mod Podge while gluing a collage together. So like, some of them.
Just basic learning of the tools.
Got it.
Yeah.
In terms of like, when I presented the studio habits at the beginning of the year, like week 3 or 4 or something like that, we went through a slideshow and I showed them the definition coming from the website, so they had to write that down. But then going along with that was pictures, and then we talked about what was happening in the pictures and how. So like I think they got a good understanding from that. And then periodically I've been having them do reflections in their sketchbook per project, like after a project is over, like what studio habits did you use and how did you use them? So in some of their sketchbooks, obviously some deeper than others, there's some kind of idea of like, oh, what did I use? So then going into this final project, I thought it was cool that some of them chose that and kind of defined it for themselves, like which one am I using, like without my, it was under the broad heading of studio thinking. So